So to make our block prints, what we're going to need are some images of what we're going to make the block of. So we need images of fish, lots of different images to inspire our artwork. Okay. We also need some drawing paper, just thin photocopy paper is fine, or any paper you have around, and obviously some drawing materials to get our ideas with. We are also going to need some card to make our blocks with, so that needs to be quite stiff card, which you can get your adult to cut up into smaller pieces. Remember, you don't have to do anything as big as this print here. You can do smaller prints, that's absolutely fine. So stiff card is on your list, and then you need to use foam to make your blocks with. So you need something to cut the foam with, so obviously scissors. Then you're also going to need your printing equipment, and some glue. So normal white PVA glue is great, and some rollers. So 2 rollers and maybe a couple of colours of block printing. Again, maybe ink, maybe you could share those with your family and friends. And then things to print onto. So I had the black bag, but you could have any colour bag that you've maybe got a bit fed up with, turn it inside out, and use the other side of it. And I've got some paper, and you want to decorate your paper first, and you're going to need some crayons to do that with. So hopefully that is everything that you're going to need to collect before you start printing, and you're going to need a couple of thin, shallow trays and some newspaper, and obviously something to protect the table with, and your apron. Okay, I hope that's everything, and I'll see you in a minute to start our block printing workshop. Hi, it's Kat from Arts Generation. How are you today? We are today going to create some block prints, and to make block prints we are going to use different materials. For this lesson we are just going to use some card, which needs to be quite thick, and some foam. And the foam comes in lots of different colours, and it's usually readily available. I think I got mine online, but if Hobbycraft is still open, you can probably get it there for a pack of foam. It doesn't have to be all different colours, one colour's fine. And just buy maybe a couple of sheets, and that will take you quite a long way. So remember to also keep your scraps, because scraps are great. I have a massive bag of scraps, and scraps of foam are useful for lots of different projects. Okay, so we're going to start off making a foam block print, but then after that, the next lesson we'll go through will be to create a recycled card block print, and we're also going to have a look at press printing. So there's going to be quite a few lessons on this and activities for you to do at home. The only other materials you're going to need that are a bit more specialist are some rollers. I believe you can still get these online. They're not too expensive. Perhaps you could share with another family. You only need 2 really. One's the wet one and one's the dry one. And you're also going to need some water-based printing ink, not oil-based. You can use acrylic, maybe mixed up with a bit of textile medium, but and poster paint you could use, but this gives you the best results. So a couple of colours, maybe black and one other colour. And then you're also going to need something like just a shallow tray like this one here, which you should be able to get hold of, or maybe just a piece of plastic to roll your ink on. It doesn't have to be very big, or it could be a bit bigger, like a plastic tray that you might find in your kitchen. So as you can see here, we are going to create some blocks using the foam, and then we can print them onto things like bags, maybe the inside of a bag. If you've had enough of the outside of the bag, you can turn it. This is just a tote bag turned inside out. I'm going to print on the inside, and then we're going to also make like fun pictures to go up around your home, or to give as cards or presents to people in your family and friends. So that's the first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to guide you through how to do your drawings and designs first. See you in a tick. So what we're going to do next is we're going to think about our design for our fish. Our fish needs to be quite simple in the end, but it can, all our ideas are going to come from things that we've looked at. So like if you're writing a story, you're not going to just sit down and write that story. You're going to think about the setting and the scene, etc., and the characters. Same with drawing, same with designing anything. We need to look at different images first. Obviously, I'm going to guide you through creating a fish block print, but you can have a go at whatever interests you, but keep it quite simple. And nature is a good place to start. So either flowers or animals or birds or plants. We've done a lot of animals over the last few years, printing with children in different schools, and these are just a couple of examples of different animal prints. I also have a lovely little mouse. He's gone missing. I don't know where he is, but anyway, I can show you him later. I've lost him. Okay, so oh, is he over here? Here he is. He's hiding behind the lizard. Here's a little mouse. Okay, so you can keep it quite simple. Just go for something that interests you. So if you like hedgehogs, then go for hedgehogs. If you like fish or birds, go for fish or birds. Okay, so first thing to do is to look at a range of different images of a fish or whatever you're doing. There's some artist work we can look at. This is by Paul Clay, and it's got some amazing pattern work on, so we could take inspiration from that. We could take inspiration from some different pattern fish that I found online. Just search different pattern fish, and then obviously some real pictures of real fish, some photographs. This is a beautiful stripy fish, as you can see, and we've got a lovely spotty patterned fish there. Also be really aware of the different features of what you're going to be designing, the gills, the fins, the tail, etc. And obviously on a hedgehog, you'll be looking at different things. You'll be looking at the spikes and the nose and the little feet. So when we've had a really good look, we're going to do a couple of warm-up drawings and then we'll start our design. Okay, so for your warm-up drawing, you're going to need just a black pen. A fine line pen is good. Doesn't have to be permanent. And I'm going to quickly do this because once you've learned how to do these drawing games, then you can share them with your family. And it's a good way to start off lots of different art activities. So my first drawing game will be, I'm going to look at a picture of a fish and I am literally going to draw it for 1 minute. That's it, okay? I'm going to do it probably less than a minute, but you will time yourself or get your adult or somebody in your family to time you. And when you're drawing, you're not to take your pen off the paper at all, okay? You're not allowed to lift it off the table, off the paper at all. If you forget, you're going to put your pen back on the paper where it was, okay? So you're not jumping around. It's like a spaghetti or a line drawing, okay? So I'm going to put that there so I can see it. And you won't be able to see what I'm doing for a second, but I will show you. So I'm going to start. Here's my timer. Off I go. So I'm just going to put my pen on the paper and I am going really quickly. I'm using the whole of my arm and I'm going to create this fish pattern. Okay, so I'm not worrying about making the right lines at the moment. And drawing spots is really tricky because I can't take my pen off the paper. So what's happening, as you can see, is I'm drawing them like this. I'm joining them together, okay? I'm cheating a little bit. You need to keep drawing, okay? Because I'm showing you. So I'm going to go back where I was and then I'm going to keep on going, drawing. And this is a warm-up drawing that you can use if you're doing any sort of art activity, just to be looking. Can you see how many times I am looking at the fish I'm drawing? So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and finish. Okay, so there is my 1 line drawing. It's not exactly the same as my fish that I've been looking at. This fish is much longer, but I have created a 1 line drawing and this is a warm-up. So I'm going to label that 1 line drawing and I'm going to put that I did that in 1 minute. Wow, 1 min. Okay, and that's by Cat. So you could do these into a sketchbook and then you can remember if you go to see your friends or your family, you can teach them these drawings too. So that's a 1 line drawing. I'm now going to change my fish. So this is all our warm-up. And I'm going to change my fish. I find a different picture. You can obviously just do it straight from your iPad to get the image up and then draw. That's absolutely fine. Our next one is called Dots and Dashes. So this time we're going to slide our pen around. So we're sort of warming up our eye and hand. So I'm going to do some dots and dashes. So my dashes can be longer or they can be shorter, it doesn't matter, but they are broken lines. So it's easy, so I can take my pen off my paper, but I need to make sure I'm doing dots and dashes. So I've actually done some very long lines. I'm not concentrating. You will be doing a lot better than me because you're going to keep your dots and dashes. So can you see? I'm trying to draw this fish with just using dots and dashes, okay? So you can carry on with that one for a whole minute. Get someone to time you or time yourself. And then I'm going to show you one more. Okay, I'm going to show you one more warm-up drawing. So like when footballers play their matches against other teams, you would not just practice with your stronger foot kicking the ball or passing the ball, you would also practice with your weaker foot. So I am right-handed. As you probably noticed, I'm going to swap to my opposite hand. And this is a little bit tricky. So if you're, maybe in year 1, 2, maybe avoid this one. Have a go if you want, but it's quite hard. You will get better at it at more you practice. So we're going to teach people the opposite hand drawing. And I'm going to do that now. So I'm really looking at my image. I'm looking at the shapes. I'm only going to do this for a few, like literally half a minute. I've swapped I'm not holding it like this, all tight. I'm just holding it nice and loose. And I'm going to do my opposite hand drawing. And it's really fun to do because everything's a bit wobbly. But so many artists use this technique because it just helps you to relax. And there's no mistakes. Everything's fine. Everything's good. Everybody will wobble at this stage. Nobody's going to be able to draw an amazing fish. So mine is being very wobbly and wibbly, but it doesn't matter. I'm just enjoying making these marks with my weaker hand. And the more I practice with my weaker hand, the better. So there we are. Just a couple of warm-up drawings, okay? So remember, just to recap, time yourself, relax, try and use the whole of your arm, not just tightening up like maybe your handwriting. It's a very different way of drawing. And use different fish pictures. Just from your screen is fine, or from a book, but make sure they're quite big so you can really see. Okay, and I will be back in a minute for the next stage. Hi, so what we're going to do now is we are going to design our block, right? So we've done our warm-up. The warm-up is not essential, but I think that your drawing, your design will be a lot better if you do the stages we just talked through. The one-line drawing, the dots and dashes, the opposite hand. There are other games and we'll go through them another time, but do those 3 before you do your designing and you will be more relaxed, okay? So I have now looked through my one-line drawings and opposite hand and my dots and dash, and I have looked at a image of a fish that I really like. I really like this fish. It's got a tiny weeny little mouth there. It's got some lovely scales on its body, and its tail is a lovely shape. So I'm going to stick to this as my main image, but I've got all those other ideas now in my head. I know about the patterns and things on fish, and I may, use some of those in my design. So what I'm going to do is to do my final design onto the same piece of size paper as my card, roughly. So this is really nice thick card. Your card needs to be quite thick, okay, because then you can stick the foam on and you don't get like the corrugated card coming through onto your block. We can use corrugated card later, but this card needs to be pretty stiff, okay? So I've done a design just to speed up the process based on my fish that I just showed you, my lovely stripy fish. And now when you've done that stage, there's sort of an option. You can, if you're maybe in a rush, you can stick that down and you can go over the top of it with your foam. But I am just going to quickly draw my fish onto here. Now, as you probably noticed, I've made it quite simple. If you go too complicated and too detailed at this stage, you'll find it a little bit tricky to do your foam work. So, for example, where is he? Our little mouse. He's quite simple, okay? And my block of my fish that I made earlier is quite simple. So under there is a drawing. I'm going to show you how to do that drawing, and then we can start sticking the foam down. Right, so I'm going to do this really quickly because I do not have an overhead camera and I don't want you to be sitting there getting bored. So I'm going to do this drawing quite quickly, but it needs to fill up your card that you have. Okay, so make sure it fills up your card. So far I've just drawn the outline. You could do it in pencil first, but please don't worry, because any lines that are a bit wobbly, it really doesn't matter. This is a guide for where you're going to stick your foam pieces. Okay, so I've done the tail, I'm going to add some stripes through the middle, just randomly looking at my fish drawing there, and then I'm going to add some fins, so I will show you those in a little second or two. There we go. Okay, I quite like those sort of higher up fins. This is a guide, yeah, so there is my block, and now what we're going to use is some PVA. Now I meant to say at the beginning, you're also obviously going to need some scissors, a pen, we've talked about the pen, a glue brush and some PVA. I'm using quite strong PVA because I want it to dry quickly. You can just use any sort of PVA. Okay, so what we do is we get some foam. As I said earlier, it comes in different sheets and you can use scraps. Please don't worry about using lots of different colours on here because they're going to get covered, as you can see by these examples here, with one colour. So you do not need to worry about making the tail one colour and the fins another colour. All right, so we'll go on to that in 1 second. Hi there, so we are ready now for the sticking the foam on our fish design. And let me just pick this one up. So you're aiming for something a little bit like this. So this has the foam all stuck in the right places. I'm going to guide you through that though, so don't worry. And as we said earlier, we're going to try and simplify what we're doing. So on this one, I've taken my drawing that I did earlier and I drew it onto the card. You can just stick the paper down, but this is probably the best way. You can do it in pencil and then pen first, pen afterwards. And then I am now going to finish off this for you to see. So what's really good is if you do have some scraps, if you have doing a fish design or something quite curvy, then just sit and cut some random strips of foam out ready, because they will give you a sort of an outline. So I tend to do, as you can see, I generally wouldn't have done the tail yet. I'm going to start off by outlining my fish. So what I'm not doing is just cutting out the shape of a fish and sticking it on. And this is quite difficult concept at first. What you're doing is you're trying to create the outline of your fish or whatever you're doing, and then you're going to fill in the pattern. So having a few curved shapes cut ready would be really useful. Okay, so the best way to do it is put the glue on where you need it, and as we said before, it's sort of a PVA glue. Strong glue is fine, or you can just use more normal PVA, and it will dry clear, as you know. It doesn't stay white. And then what you can start to do, if you see here, oh look, there's a really nice curve just here. It's a little bit long, so just roughly mark with your fingers and snip off that just so it fits, and then you can pop it on. Okay, and then you just carry on filling in. So we started here with this shape, and now we're going to come down here, and as you can see again, it's a little bit long, so we are adapting our design to with it working within our materials, and that's just about right. It doesn't want to overlap at all. So let me show you, that's quite a useful thing. If I'd left that on with that sticking on top of that, it wouldn't make a great print. So we need to make sure everything is flat. And sometimes we might think, oh, I want to do an eye and then put a pupil inside the eye. You need to make sure that you do it all on one level. Okay, so where have I got to? Let me do this tail here. So I'm just going to make sure I've got plenty of glue. There needs to be glue on the ends of your pieces of foam as well, so they don't lift up when you're rolling your ink on to create your print. So that's quite a nice shape. Have I got anything that's a little bit, maybe a bit more interesting? So the good thing about foam is you can use it either way, so you can turn it over. So if it doesn't quite fit one way, maybe it will fit another. That's not working, so I'm going to go back to this idea. And again, it's just a little bit long, so I'm going to trim it down at this end as well. So I've cut both ends off, and whoopsie, and there we go. Okay. Then, last couple of things to do are to add some fins. So for the fins, I've got these lovely spiky sort of top fins. I can make them a bit bigger. And I'm going to put that one in there. Okay. And for this one, I'm going to show you how to be a little bit more intricate. So that means a bit more detail. So that would fit in fine. But some of you might want to make an interior sort of shape. So I'm just going to cut the inside of that off and snip that. So if your cutting skills are quite good and you want to develop your cutting skills, then you could do all of your fins a bit like this. So basically, let me show you that again nearer the camera. So that's this isn't really going to work on here. Might do actually. Then I can cut inside that. So I'm cutting away the inside. So you can, if you have got good cutting skills or you want to make it a little bit more intricate, can you see that could go there? All right, actually looks pretty good. So I'm going to stick it on. Sorry if you're losing my head while I'm showing you these things. There we are. Right, so the middle part now, all I need to do, so my eye, can you see, was going to be here, and it's not going to work there. So I'm going to move it. That's absolutely fine. There's not a hard and fast rule about where you stick your pieces. So I'm going to cut myself a circular shape. This is probably a little bit small, but let's have a go. See if we can get that on. Perfect. Okay, so I need to get myself an overhead camera, and I'm going to glue the place where the eye would look good and pop it on. Again, you could cut away the inside, and then all that's left are these stripes through the middle. So I'll do one just to show you. Let's start with this one. So nice long shape. Let's see if anything here is pretty similar to that shape. Have a look. This is pretty good. Yeah, it's a bit long, but I can just trim that down. So estimation is a really good thing with when you're making blocks. Whoopsie. Right, like that. Okay, I'm going to pop that on. Okay, so when you're finished, it should look a bit like this. Like this one is almost there. This one is done. We need to leave them to dry. If you're using the strong waterproof PVA, that it won't take long. You could use a hairdryer on it. The other thing you can do, so if you're going to make this today and print with it tomorrow, or make it in the morning and print with it in the afternoon, then you could give it a little seal, a seal of PVA. So remember I said to you earlier about some of these pieces of foam might lift. You don't want them lifting when you're printing. So it might be a good idea just to do a nice little, almost like varnishing it, protecting it around the edges. Okay, again, that's sort of optional. It should be fine, but maybe get your adult if you need them to, just to check that everything's really stuck before you start printing, because you don't want to be disappointed if things start to come off. All right, so that's this stage. We're finished, ready to print now. So I'm going to go over the materials. Well, I've said about the materials, but I'm going to go over the process of that next. Okay, see you in a tick. So our next stage is to print our fish foam printing block. So this is a relief block we've created. When something is relief, it's sort of sticks out from the surface. So all of our fish is ready, it's dry. Just check it is dry before you start printing. You don't want bits coming off. And you're going to need some newspaper, and you're going to need some trays to do your rolling of your ink in, and you're going to need 2 rollers. You really need 2 for this. You need one that stays nice and dry, and you need a wet roller for your printing. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze a little bit of ink out onto our tray like this. We don't need too much. I'm probably using more than I need just so that it's easy for you to see. So remember, it's water-based block printing ink, and that's the best thing to use. And we're going to print onto a bag like this one. So I turn this one inside out, and I've got a piece of just thickish card in between to protect the inside of the bag. and I'm going to turn it round and print on this side now with my other fish. So I'm going to get that ready. I've got some newspaper ready because I want to keep my printing area nice and clean. And I'm going to throw away any newspaper that gets ink on it into my bin straight away. So it's a really good idea to get yourself totally organised. And then I'm going to roll my ink onto, I'm going to go this way and that way. I'm going to show you here. So can you see I'm taking down some of the ink and I've got a nice sticky rolled surface, okay, like this. And it sounds really nice and it looks a bit like velvet. That's how you know it's ready. So I'm going to be quiet for a minute. And it does literally cover the whole roller, okay? And then I'm going to move this out of the way so you can see. And obviously you will do this standing up is the best way with nice straight arms. But I'm going to have to sit down to show you. Okay, and then I'm going to roll all over nice and flat. Keep your roller flat. You can hold on to the edge of your block while you're rolling. Get some more ink. There we are. Just make sure you get all your little edges. And I'm just going to do it up so you can see a bit easier. But obviously it's best to keep it flat. And if anything looks a little bit dry, put some more ink on it. So it's easy to see with the first print. Okay. So, okay, that's all rolled on. I'll do one more here. The eye looked a bit dry. Okay, so roll over all of your block and then you're going to take your bit of newspaper off and put it in your bin. Keep your hands clean. And then I'm just going to do a print onto the middle of my bag, okay? You could do a test print first onto some paper, but I'm going to go straight onto my bag. So let me get this the right way around. So another good thing to do is to actually draw an arrow. I'm going to make a bit of a mess doing this because I forgot to do it. So here we go. An arrow showing which way is up because then you'll find it easier. Okay, right. So this is up. I'm going to register the block into the middle of the bag. So I'm like hovering above. And then I'm going to push down really hard and I'm going to roll with my roller on top of my bag like this. I'll show you in a second. So at the moment I'm being really careful not to move my block, and I'm being very careful not to get my fingers onto the bag because they're a little bit sticky. Okay, so really press. So there's no point just doing that. You've got to press down and make sure you go around everywhere. Okay, and then I'm going to put my roller. So this is my nice dry roller. This is my wet roller. You're going to need two. And then let's have a little check. Not bad, not bad. Just going to lift that bit up. Yes, that's not a bad little print. There we are. Okay, so you get the idea. All right, so that's my bag. I'm just going to put that to dry. And then I'm going to show you how to print with the black ink onto some paper. All right, so again, you're going to take your printing ink. You could make grey if you wanted by putting a bit of black in with the white, but we'll stick with a nice dark new black. Okay, so this hasn't been used for a little while, so it's a little bit sticky, stiff. You're going to come out. Come on. There we are. He's coming. There we are. So put some blobs of ink on here. Okay, there we are. Okay, so there should be enough. Then my new wet roller, I'm going to take that down. I'm going to make a nice area for the ink. This is a good old squeaky roller. Hasn't been oiled for a little while. Whoa. Okay, so there we are. I've got myself a nice covered roller. It's harder to tell on the black roller, obviously, that it's covered, but that looks pretty covered to me. It's easy to tell on the white. So there we are. Stop squeaking as well. Perfect. Right, so now what I'm going to do is take my other fish and I'm going to roll that carefully with my roller. So it's a case of just making sure all of the relief part of your fish is covered with a good layer is the right word, layer of black ink if you're using black ink. Okay, here is a case where my little fin is lifting up and I wasn't careful enough to put my PVA underneath, so that might lift, but that's why you have to be careful with when you're covering it. Okay, make sure that it's really well stuck down. So my fish is covered in black ink, and now I'm going to just now print on some paper. So obviously you can use any paper you like. You could maybe draw a sea scene with some crayons on here first, or paint a scene. As long as it's dry when you come to print on top, you can use different colour papers. And again, you could, if you're doing a smaller block, then you could maybe make a card, print on the front of your card, and then open it up. So, and you can print multiple times as well, which is nice. So back to this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my block onto the paper like this, push it down to make sure it's registered, so it'll look like that. Okay, and then I'm going to get my dry roller and I'm going to roll over the top. So you'll do this standing up maybe at your table with nice straight arms, and you're being a printing press, and printing presses have to press their prints down onto paper, and that's what you're doing. So nice few steady rolls. Again, there's no point just doing that, you've got to press, and these little areas here will help you put your finger there. Don't roll over your fingers while you're doing it. Okay, right, then that does not go back in any ink. You need to keep this one dry. I'm going to have a little look to check that it's okay. Yeah, it's all right, it's not bad. Okay, so there we are. There's your little fish. So experiment with different patterns in the background. You could maybe swap your print with someone else's print and both print fish on a big piece of fabric or a big piece of paper. You can make smaller prints, and you can even, let me hold that one up so you can see a bit longer, experiment with adding maybe string with your foam to create your print. Okay, so enjoy creating. Oh, put my elbow in him. Enjoy creating your fish prints, and I'd love to see what they look like. See you next time. Bye.